Here.
Here.
Rath.
Here. Anybody wishing to address the street committee and the citizens forum?
You need to approve the agenda first.
Please?
Approve the agenda.
Thank you, sir.
So moved.
Motion to approve the agenda, second.
Also move that we approve the agenda.
No, I moved, you second.
Oh.
I didn't hear you say it.
You're seconding?
I said
I'll
so moved,
second it.
yeah.
Motion and second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Now, the citizens forum, anybody wishing to address the street committee? Pretty quiet. Should have received the minutes from the September 9th, 2014 street committee meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
So moved.
I'd second it.
Motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Item 5, sidewalk, curb, and gutter update. Toby, you wanna?
Just pretty much wanted to let everyone know that that project is completed, and we are right now just waiting for itemized billing for different street projects. There was some private work done on the school property. They have to break all those out, and then utilities portion of repairs for street patches, curb and gutter, and sidewalk repairs. So as soon as we get the itemized billing, we'll disperse those out, and it's pretty much done.
I just, if I could, Phil, I had a comment from a citizen that they thought that the crew that did the sidewalk repair was doing such a nice job and were so polite and offered to seat and they just commented on how nicely that was done. So I passed that along to Toby, but I'd like to pass it around. I'd like to, yeah, well, that's it, but I'd like to pass it along that there were good comments. So it's like something that people really didn't want probably, but it was nice that the people that did it were pleasant and people seemed that they were accommodating.
Thank you. Toby, I had a question from a citizen and I was unable to answer it, and I know you just said they're pretty much done. Does that include all the shaving and the edges? That's done.
The contracted work is done.
That's all.
According to when I started, that there was talk between the street foreman and past city administrator on doing this scarifying, what they call it, where you grind the edges down. Problem what I have is they had the prices set and put in that estimate form that were sent out to the people. And the cost, I believe they were gonna charge $20 per area. So if you had, one sidewalk with one raised edge, it was gonna cost $20. For one, I haven't found where the money was coming from to rent the machine or to purchase the machine. I feel $20 to do that service is fairly, is too light. So I guess right now that is tabled.
It's on hold. Thank you. Okay.
They had talked, Phil, as I recall, they talked that the idea was that we would buy it because they thought that you wore out these things, and at the time it seemed like a lot to me to buy it. That's just my thought, but I think the thing they did talk about buying it. But as I said, I don't know where the money was going to come from. Maybe from the actual overall cost of doing it.
Any other discussion on item 5? Item 6, Main Street update. Toby?
Pretty much all I have for that is we had another meeting today, and we have some dates. There's going to be some meetings coming up, public meetings, informational meetings on that.
You want to read those off so both the public and the press have?
Yeah, these are the dates of the information.
These are tentative right now.
Okay.
They'll decide.
Oh.
I don't want. I'm just
Okay.
informing you what's coming.
Yeah, okay.
That'll all be known.
Okay.
Made known to the public in the near future. But so yeah, there'll be 2 to 3 informational meetings coming up in the next few months on the Main Street project. We which you talked about the detour out and such, so.
You'll let us know when you get those, or?
Yeah, that'll be public.
Okay.
That'll be- That's it.
Questions? If not, item 7 is discussion on the 2015 budget. Toby?
Well, basically just gonna go back through what we just went through here as far as,
So you don't have any copies for the other members, or of the budget? That didn't go out, did it?
just mine.
I got one. I can. How many pages? Well, needs one.
I think it was emailed to us.
That was? Oh, it was. Oh, the budget?
No, because we just finished them today.
Oh, okay. I must be thinking of it.
Basically, my budget talks is gonna be about machinery. What I did is I put in there for 15 and 16 for, 2 payments on a patrol truck, fully equipped with plow, side wing, salt applicator with a pre-wetting kit, which is added on to the V-box spreader. So for 15, it would be a payment of $110,000. And along with that, I also asked for a one payment out of 2 for compact skid, called a skid steer, compact track loader, which could be used in various departments around the city, along with a lot at the airport. I feel we could use that machine year-round, so that's one payment in 2015 of $34,000, approximately $37,000 in 16. I feel these are needs, not wants, due to trying to cut back on hired services, doing more work in-house, and obviously the condition of our existing equipment. If we don't start updating some of our mainline snow fleet, I feel we're gonna have a large repair bill coming, or worse yet, accidents. And I have information, I brought along pictures, and everything is labeled to what I am finding there daily. So if you want to pass these around, this is basically,
The pictures are right.
yeah, I mean, they're different trucks, different labels.
Yeah.
Basically what we have is double framed, which is 2 frames, one over the top of the other, for dump truck chassis. And what happens is they're in salt. That's their main job, is spreading salt, plowing. They're constantly driving in it. And when salt gets between the double frames, they start to spread apart. And that's called frame jacking. So once you look at the pictures, you'll see we actually have moved from frame jacking to actually busted or cracked frames, which from a safety standpoint and a usability standpoint, once we completely break the frame, the truck, not only now should it be red tagged and off the road, that's all we have to use, but once it's broken, further it's basically junk. So, what I'm asking for isn't a want for new paint. This is for us to provide a service to keep the streets clean. And that's my main, obviously our street meeting is after my budget presentation. I would like to present it to the street committee sooner, but this problem isn't going away. And the future, the outlook for us replacing and selling surplus older equipment, I'm afraid we're not gonna get much revenue out of it. It's in poor shape.
Mary Beth?
I just attended the finance committee meeting, and, you know, it kind of struck me like this was backwards, because Toby had to present his budget, and he hadn't presented it to this committee yet. And I think some of the stuff he did talk about, he had given us detailed information, which we had, which was valuable information. Unfortunately, I was not allowed to speak at the finance committee, or a very limited amount. So I guess I think, you know, if he presents it to us as a committee, since we understand the things, the needs, and if we agree, you know, we can support him, but it was backwards, because he had this all prepared, and I think in the future, Phil, we really need to have our meeting, give the budget to us first, and then we can be knowledgeable about it. But I did ask Toby at the meeting, I did get to ask a question, and I asked, did he have in there, remember when he talked to us, that we shouldn't like run the equipment until it was worth zero, but have a replacement plan so it doesn't break down on us, and budget for replacement, and he said he had built that in, so I thought that was a good point that was built in to this budget, and it showed foresight that we're not just waiting for a huge capital expense, we're planning for maintenance and expense. And then he also made some very good points about shared equipment that, remember when we talked in our meeting about the snow blower that would be used both at the airport and in the city, and there was another piece of equipment that would be used two places, right?
Yes, exactly, and the biggest tool that I see here, being on the airport, being the airport manager and the public works manager, working those two departments together and sharing equipment. I'm working on the entitlements for 2014 and 15, which is going to help us hopefully replace a articulated or wheel loader, payloader, and a snow blower. And by adding a third loader and not replacing one of the street loaders, I think we can make them last longer and keep the hours down. Along with this compact track loader, I think we can, which runs cheaper on fuel, it's going to hold a higher resale down the road, and I think we can also keep a lot of unnecessary hours off from our big loaders, which are primarily for snow. I just think if we can cut back on senseless using equipment for the place of a pickup truck, I think we can make it last longer, keep the hours lower, and hopefully in the end, keep our maintenance costs down and fuel costs. So there again, that compact track loader, we can use it from everything for shouldering to brush clearing to working in the park. We can work on city sidewalks with it or whatever it would be, because they have rubber tracks, so they won't disturb the street or the cement surface. It has many attachments available that we can rent pretty inexpensively. I mean, they're almost like having 4 extra hired men when you have a machine like that. The payloaders have their place, but they're big and they're clumsy. You know, when you want to work in tighter areas, and I know the park, the airport, even with all the wastewater breaks this winter, a machine like that could have been used in a lot of the restoration due to working in ditches and steep inclines, where a rubber tired wheel loader you can't go in there, you'll be stuck or tip over. So I mean, there's a lot of use for a machine like this. And not to mention, you know, it takes one man to run it, and I think it would be a very good tool for us.
I have one other question.
Go ahead.
When the mayor talked to us initially at our last regular meeting about the cemetery, she just said that they had met with the cemetery and they didn't know anything, and yet when the budgets were presented, the cemetery numbers were all in the budgets. So obviously there had been a discussion that, you know, we council members were not given. So they said that the cemetery costs were going to be put in your budget and in Justin's budget. How much are you putting in your budget for the cemetery?
Basically, I talked to Justin, and nobody knows for sure which way to go with this. The street department already takes care of the cemetery snow removal.
Okay.
We assist in tree and brush management.
The big tree was taken off last week. Was that you or?
That was in St. Rose,
Oh, that was in St. Rose. Okay.
so no, it wasn't that.
Okay.
But what I'm saying, and then we also the street department hauls all of the excess soil from the grave excavations. So we already do a fair amount there.
Oh.
That's, I guess, behind the scenes and unknown. So what I proposed to Justin is that he wanted to take care of lawn mowing, trimming. We would continue the services we've been doing there as the street department. The only thing we would add on is the maintenance of the cemetery equipment. So I put, I believe it was $1,500 in there. It's basically lawnmower maintenance and a small 27 horsepower mini backhoe. So it's very minimal, you know, so we can keep
Okay.
the equipment maintained. They run it, we'll maintain it. And that's kind of in-house between Justin and myself. That's how we figured it would work. To split the department and have, say, 2 to 3 people mowing lawn up there and have 2 bosses, I think it would waste a lot of people's time. So I figure we just it makes the most sense, we keep doing what we're doing already and our guys are familiar with, and have those guys do the mowing, and he can manage, you know, the grass operations and flowers, and I believe he was gonna handle digging the graves if we receive the cemetery.
They told me that, I have a friend that's been on that board, and she said that they employ a sexton, and he's agreed to stay on. So it's like they're assuming we're gonna get that employee. So I don't know what the sexton does. I think that's the guy that knows where the graves are and stuff, you know. So she said he agreed to stay on. So she said they have 1.5 part-time employees, but I know at the finance committee, there was something, Mark was quoted in the paper that he said that he had misquoted that the cost was gonna be like $60,000, that we had a budget for that, but according to the cemetery people, that's what they think they need from us is $60,000, because their income is really minimal. So I just wondered how much you had to throw in there, so.
I've gotten very little direction on what to do.
Well, it hasn't come to the council yet anyway, so the whole
Right.
thing hasn't, but what concerned me was it's already in the budgets, but we haven't ever discussed it as a council.
And that's why I didn't put anything much.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
And the $1,500 that I did put in extra machinery, equipment, and repair,
I think that's prudent, because
I have no,
probably will.
we'll have no problem using that on our own equipment either.
Toby, my only experience with cracking is something called lamination. Steel, if it's 3/8 plate, it's literally half the strength because of the line that goes through it. Is that what you're seeing in these? I mean, I know it's fatigue cracking, but you feel you're losing half the strength of the original piece of equipment?
Yeah, the frame is the most important part. All our cabs are shiny and orange. Everything looks brand new. But the problem is, everything on that truck is riding off the frame. And if the frame is That's like having a bad basement. You have a beautiful house, but if it's gonna fall in the hole, it's,
Jim?
Yeah, this machining we're talking about, that would kind of revolutionize your operation. What are we talking in the way of cost?
let's see. It's on this capital sheet. For 15, I budgeted 34,000, which would be one payment.
Mhm.
There'd be another payment in 16. And that would come, I can send this around.
Yeah, we committed ourselves last night.
No,
Okay.
So roughly 71,000?
budget number.
Yeah.
Obviously, municipalities do get better numbers time to time, and I'm just throwing this out there. I think it would be a great addition, and I think it would help us continue to get, I mean, we've got a lot of work done in the last 4 months since I started, and I think we can continue to get a lot of work done with fewer guys.
Last night you brought up the fact, or the idea that the land could be tillable as a source of revenue. If you picture the airport, and I just want an estimate, how much of that land do you think is desert, as you said, or tillable?
Well, right now, we're looking at renting a minimum of 100 acres.
If it would be brushed, then
Until that can get in there, I hate to speculate. Like I said, it's all overgrown, and
could you backfill low areas?
no,
No, okay.
DNR would frown on
No,
that.
I just meant within what you brush, if it's not wetland, could you backfill any of that with product that the city generates?
There are some areas out there that we were or are anticipating, you know, there's different excavations that happen in town where they need to get rid of clay, fill, or topsoils that aren't reusable. That would be a perfect place to help make that more suitable.
I guess when I say just to turn it into tillable land so that people have a straight shot across it.
That's our hope, but
Okay, I was
until
just
we get
curious.
into it, I hate to promise that.
Other questions? No. Mary Beth?
No, but
Jim?
Toby did a really nice job on his presentation on the budget. As I said, I just wish that we could have seen it first and been more supportive.
I'd like to tell the public, if you get a chance, take a ride out by the landfill. He's done some remarkable work straightening things out and making them look nice. The hard efforts are starting to show some dividends. It looks nice out there. Okay, that's item 8, the equipment. Moving on to item 9. Mandy, new information on streetlights?
In your packets, there was a spreadsheet which contains some cost information. And then the last column has a priority ranking, and I'm actually going to hand out a different spreadsheet now where I sorted this a little bit easier for you, so I have all the priority ones.
The ones first?
Yes. And that column was actually put together by Sergeant Fevernitz at the police department, so those are his recommendations on, a couple here if you guys want to look along. His recommendations on which ones would be, I guess, have the most impact on safety. And then each of those priority listings has a total cost broken down by what the utility would have to pay and what the city would have to pay. So this is for information as we progress on this streetlight investigation.
Very good.
And just for information, I did include the total utility cost in my initial utility budget. So So if you look at the bottom, that $35,910, that is included in my first draft of the utility budget.
Questions or discussion on the street lighting? Great.
Mandy, these are for LEDs, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
And you said the 35,000 was in the budget for next year?
I have put it in there.
Potentially?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah,
So that would be for all of them,
Yes.
hypothetically,
for the utility part,
the
yeah.
utility.
And if I may also add, page 4 in your packet is our draft rate from the Public Service Commission on with the LED lights included. They are a bit different than what Brian and I had initially received from the Public Service Commission, but this is what will be finalized at some point in the near future. So the way this cost estimate is broken down, we are considering them to be utility owned, where the utility bears the majority of the cost. So for each one that the city would decide to put up, there would be a base charge of $4.50 per lamp per month, and then plus the energy charge. And that would be added to the city's utility bills.
But the electrical would be less, right?
The kilowatt usage should be less, but we don't really have good information as far as how much it would be at this time.
We just said what Justin said about, you know, he had the experience with it at the veterans thing, and they had a pretty good record of, they replaced theirs with LED, and he said it was noticeable. He quoted something about how much cheaper it was, so.
Any other questions or discussion? Great.
Well, first of all, just a statement that I'm really pleased that this is happening and that we are getting our streetlights put back up. I know that many of these areas have been needing them, and I've been hearing about it. And I'm glad to see that we're making progress. The I'll just leave it at that for now.
Very good.
I think, I just a rough count, there's like 28 that are in the, that the law enforcement said were high priority replacement needed. So there were 28, and we talked about, when Brian was here, he said, you know, they have help to do this too. So what we had talked about is we do the ones that are the highest priorities. So we're not necessarily talking, Mandy, about doing it all, you know, immediately, but now we have the cost. But if we would do, say realistically, if we would be able to do the highest priority and get that done, I mean, I'd be kind of thrilled with getting even that much done. How about you, Greg?
Yeah,
I mean,
I think definitely the number one's getting done right away. As soon as, I mean, we're limited by manpower and those kind of things, and we can do the best we can, but definitely I'm glad to see that they are prioritized and that we've got a plan in place to get those up.
And we're getting new technology, so we're saving energy.
Amanda?
I guess if I could just point out too, even though we do have this priority list now, there are still a few where if you look in the details column, that's kind of Brian's notes. Like, for example, in priority 1, number 512, which is almost to the bottom of priority 1, his note is that it's not practical. So, I mean, I think we still need to heed Brian's suggestions and not put lights where he doesn't feel it would be practical. And then if you move down to priority 2, just a little ways down, number 65, not feasible. But for the majority, you know, everything that was taken down is on this list with a cost to put back up.
Other questions?
Just one last statement. when we look at the cost to put it back up, you know, bear in mind that they were taken down with the idea that they would save money, but the thing that I think that was missed in the public's eye was, you know, there was a cost to take them down, just like there's a cost to put them up. And I don't think that that cost to take them down and all the man time, man hours that were used to take them down was ever really tallied like this is. And so when we look at, wow, this is gonna be costing a lot to get them back up, perhaps it's gonna negate the whole purpose of taking them down. I would say that we gotta bear in mind that there was a great cost to take them down in the first place too.
No, I guess.
I just was gonna say
Totally
that
agree.
Jim and I had, you know, campaigning, you know, the two of us just campaigned, and this was just a, you know, a number one concern of people when we were campaigning. And I talked to one of my classmates this weekend, and she said, you know, we had petitioned to actually have that light put up on our streets, and it got put up, and then, you know, we got a petition to do it, and then it got taken down. And so we've had a lot of comment that people are very happy about this. And I guess I think in a time when we're trying to give people something, they said that, and I wasn't here for that, but they said they had community hearings, you know, we had hearings and lots of people came and talked for it, and it wasn't paid attention to. So it would be nice if we could give them something that they wanted.
I'm sorry, is this material as well? Material, like the poles themselves? Is all of it?
Some of them have costs that are higher because they would involve that, yes. Most of them are smaller
time.
costs.
But your number, Mandy, is,
The utility cost column is the actual fixture and poles and wires. It does not include any labor.
And the city cost is the labor?
The city cost would be, if you look in the details column, the additional, yep. The labor, utility budgets, I mean, the guys are here working their time, they'll just be coding it to our streetlight labor account and utilities. So there will not be a cost of labor to the city.
and then one, and if you note one of this, like quite a bit of that, there were like two that, they're in the number 3 that says, you know, need pulled and underground wire. It accounts for over 6,000 of that whole amount. So like, if a couple of those were left out, there wouldn't be a lot of city billing, because 2 poles account for almost all of that, he's not recommending we do right away.
I think if we have nothing else, it falls on the committee to say if we want to reinstate streetlights, and we need a motion to that effect.
Also
Or
moved.
wait until we have further budget hearings. Set some direction. Whatever your pleasure.
Also move that we reinstate the lighting.
Priority 1 or is it?
Priority 1.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to reinstate street lighting.
Recommend to council.
Recommend the council to reinstate the replacement of street lighting. Defined by priority 1. On the list supplied to us called street lighting replacement estimate. Discussion?
I think what we were saying is that they prioritized them, and that we were putting their streetlight replacement as a priority 1, but they were gonna be replaced as they had
We need to define
time.
this. So.
Yeah, it had time, so they would replace it as they had time.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Kraus,
Yes.
Keister,
Yes,
Rath,
No.
Rose.
Yes.
Motion carried. Next item, item 10, Mandy, information on available equipment rates.
The last couple of months, Toby had given us some rates to recommend to council for some of his equipment. And the only piece of equipment that I really see that we would need a rate for the wastewater department is our big jet vector truck. And I checked with some of the local communities, and I am recommending that we recommend to council $100 per hour for that truck when we need to bill it.
Any discussion?
I'll move approval of that, that we recommend that to council.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, recommend to council billing of $100 for the jet backer truck. Our billable equipment rate list. Discussion?
Do we know what, I mean, what is it being billed out as now?
That I don't know.
It wasn't.
We haven't had rates.
$75.
Or what?
I was gonna say 70, but I'm not sure. Other questions? Roll call, please.
Easter,
Yes.
Rath,
Yes.
Rose,
Yes.
Kraus.
Yes.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.